Hello, welcome back to the circuit. My name is Mark and this is SlotTrackRacer. Now just for a minute, could you just please protect your eyes? What I'm going to do is show you something that's so beautiful it may just cause permanent damage. So today we're looking at this, the Lancia Delta S4 by Scalextric. So our collecting habits will often take us off in tangents and down wormholes, and this happened to me around about 2022, about 3 years ago. I saw some videos on YouTube of the old Group B rally cars and I just remembered what a magical time it was. So if you don't know, Group B was a set of rallying regulations that existed between 1982 and 1986, and it was a time when the FIA basically said there aren't any rules anymore and manufacturers virtually had free rein to do whatever they wanted to their rally cars. Consequently, the cars got faster and faster and faster and more sophisticated until there was a number of tragedies in 1986, and at that stage the FIA had to close the door on Group B. Many people remember those few years in the 80s as the golden age of rallying, and this car, the Delta, was one of the successes of that period. So let me tell you about the Scalextric car. So I bought this in 2022 and it cost me £45. As I say, I was off on a tangent collecting up Group B cars and I wasn't really concerned about the price, I just had to have them. I was looking today on eBay and there's only actually one listed. I was looking at completed eBay listings, and basically I think I paid over the odds for it in 2022, because even these days you can still pick them up for around £46. There's some lucky people that have managed to buy them for £36, but I don't really know what quality the cars were. This one is pristine. It has actually been a shelf queen in my collection for quite a long time. But today I thought, well, let's get it out the cupboard and let's get it on the track and let's stop it being a shelf queen and let's give it some proper laps and see how it performs. So as usual, we're going to do a full in-depth review of the car. We're going to put it in the Scrutineer's bay, take the top off, have a look all the way around and see how well we think it's made. Then we'll hand over to my alter ego, Mark Commentary, and we're going to give it the old 2-minute test and the pace of car pursuit, and I really do wonder how this car will perform in those tests. So that's quite a lot to be getting on with, so I think the thing to do is to make a start and crack on. But before we get started, can I just give you that little reminder about subscribing to my channel. So my channel's quite new and I do really need your support to help make it grow. So if it's the first time you've found me today, please do click the subscribe button. And here we are, here's our first look at the Lancia Delta S4, and immediately I've got to say, what an absolute stunning car. So I think we've got two choices here. We could just pause the video here and look at this car in the box all day, and you know, I don't really think that's such a bad idea because it's such a beautiful car. Or perhaps I'll spare you that and we'll move on and I'll show you the back of the box. So let's turn it round. So here we are, my version then is a Scalextric C3490 Lancia Delta S4 as driven by F. Trabaton, and this featured in the 1986 San Remo Rally. I had to look that up. The event that this car featured in was actually a European Rally Championship event. It wasn't the World Rally Championship event. But let's have a look at the front of the car and we will see what features it has fitted. So as usual, it has the quick change guide blade, rear magnet, rear lights, front lights, compatible with the DPR chip and highly detailed. And if we look at some of the livery on this car, I think that highly detailed option is ticked not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times over. The amount of sponsorship logos, the quality of the fine printing, it looks really splendid. I can't wait to get it out of the box and have a look at it. So let's do that straight away. And just as I suspected, what a car. The detail on this is so fine. The wheels, look at the wheels, front and rear. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving the colours of it. I'm loving the sponsorship logos on it. Look at that really finely detailed printing just there above the SO sign. That's so fine. You know, when I first saw that I thought it was a scratch on the car. It's actually printing. So I think the thing to do is to get this in the scrutineer's bay so we can take a real proper close-up look at it. And while I'm doing that, in the meantime, let's have a look at the Lancia Delta S4 in real life. The Lancia Delta S4 is a Group B rally car manufactured by Italian company Lancia. The Delta S4 competed in the World Rally Championship in 1985 and 1986 until the Group B class was disbanded and the cars were eventually banned from competition by the FIA. The S4 took full advantage of the Group B regulations, and it featured a midship mounted engine and four-wheel drive for superior traction on loose surfaces. Typically, as with all Group B cars, only a handful of vehicles were built. 28 completed S4 chassis were manufactured by the Italian company. So here's a Lancia Delta in the scrutineering bay, and let's have a close-up look at it. And the first thing I want to do immediately is turn it around and have a look at the back. Now look at this rear detail. I think this is really splendid. I'm just going to have to lift it up slightly because I just want to show you the exhaust pipes there. Can you see that detail in there of the exhaust pipes? Not only the large silencer but the three downpipes as well. That's really good detail. I've done my research. This car came out in 2015. It was in that year's catalogue. And as I said before, I think Scalextric really hit the heights of recent time in their modelling at this stage. Even the 2025 range, which is pretty impressive, I must say. I don't think I've seen cars with this much detail on. I mean, look at these two-tier lights. So there's the brake light and the indicator light above. This lovely etched detail here. So that's actually a foil piece that's been inserted into the body. So when I take the top off, I'll just check that out. But that's not part of the plastic moulding. I'm sure that's foil. Lovely, really fine SO logos there. And the SO Super Oil text there just on the rear spoiler. Rally Monte Carlo number 7 identifier, race number. Even a fine little country of origin sticker there for Italy is really good. Nice fine number 7. So isn't this really super detail? I really am impressed with this car, and I just think it knocks modern models for 6 really. Let's have a look at the side of it. So I think the thing to draw your attention to here is the wheels. So different wheels, front and rear, but they're both really spectacularly designed, aren't they? So obviously this has been picked up off the rear model. Whoever created the tool for this car must have had a really fine eye for detail. Because, I mean, the wheels are really super, aren't they? I really like them. This is another feature that's suddenly gone missing. The little side vent in the window there. So I mean, this is a feature of all racing cars. If ever you actually get out onto a track, you'll notice that all competition cars have this little hatch in the window, but on the most recent cars I just don't see it anymore. So why have we lost that detail when we could have that detail in 2015? Where's it gone to now? I mean, point out if there's a car that does have that detail that I'm missing, but I can't recall seeing it. The last review I did was, well, a review I did recently was for the Mercedes AMG GT3, and I don't think that had that detail in the window, but the real car, I'm sure it would have. Let's go back to the livery. So nice golden black. This really fine detail in text there. So I'll have to tell you what that says separately because I need to get in really close with my glasses, but it's just lovely fine text. The racing identifier and number there on the side. The Michelin logo. Really super car, and even this little fine detail here, and the indicator there
whether you can see that. So I was looking at a car recently that for the indicator they just used literally just dabbed the end of a paintbrush on the end, but there's actually a little bit of moulding behind there, so there's a bump in the body that makes that look realistic. If we come down to the front, again, lovely headlights. These headlights are going to be lit up. This is astounding. Can you see that text there just on the bonnet? So when I looked at this car, when I got it out of the box recently, I looked at it and I thought, blinking it, all these cars been scratched, but that's actually really, really fine writing. It's difficult to see at this stage, but we've got two drivers here, one driving the car, one reading the map. This lovely fine aerial on the top, though I do find this part is a little bit annoying because as the cars roll it tends to bend, or if you have to turn it over to do any maintenance on it, it tends to bend, so you have to be quite careful with that. But obviously it's a detail that's on the real rally car, so they've included it in the model. The grille is nice. It's a gloss grille, so that's not foil. The only foil is in the rear of the car, but nevertheless it looks nice, doesn't it? Really, really tiny Lancia Delta bonnet logo there. If we turn that into this side, again, repeat of all the sponsorship logos and the two wheels, which is super. And we'll go down to the back again, because I just wanted to point out, probably you can see better like this, but there's just a very fine, well not fine, it's quite a sturdy roll cage just inside the window, so we'll have a look at that maybe when we've got the top off the car. But isn't that really super detail? Isn't that a real zenith of tooling really, this car? As I say, 2015, that's over 10 years old, and if anything the cars have got worse since this period, and this, I'm sure this car would have retailed between about £35 to £40, you know, going back in history and given the way inflation has happened over the past few years. But you know, even at that time, for that cost, this was a really good value car, I think. No particular detail underneath, but again you can see this separately fitted exhaust pipe, which I think is really good. I've seen Group B rally cars close up. I think I've seen the Metro 6R4 over at Gaydon, and I remember noticing that there was a lot of Group B on that car and not much Metro, so things like the engine, they really had to squeeze it into the body shell to get it done, and that's probably why in this car you're seeing all this external exhaust detail on the outside of the car. The guide blade is sprung, so this self-centres as you go down corners. That's a nice touch, and you can see I've already fitted the digital chip in here. It has one magnet fitted, and that's just at the back. Nice wing mirrors. The wing mirrors feel sturdy, but they're probably brittle, so we might lose those if we get into any collisions. Windscreen wipers seem to be nicely modelled actually, so some of the windscreen wipers I've seen recently look just like blocks of plastic, but these have actually got some fine detailing on them, so they look quite good. And there's a feature that I've been complaining about for a little while. Let me bring the car forward. Just that painted detail on the driver, so that the driver's face has been picked out with paint, but they've actually painted the seat belts. So rather than using the seat belts as you know, the same colour as the outfit the driver's wearing, I've actually picked it out in black, so I hope you can see that. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the top off and we'll have a look inside. So there's the inside of the car. The body come off quite easily. There was 4 screws, 2 at the front, 2 at the back. If we look inside, we can see it's a sidewinder motor. That's using the short stem 5mm shaft. The gear ratio, you can just see there if I turn it over, it's an 11 to 36 teeth gear ratio. LED lights fitted on front and rear, both on just a single circuit board. There's the one at the front. So they're very small lights, aren't they? But they're super powerful once they're lit up. For once, Scalextric have done a real nice job of the cables in here. Well, I mean, they haven't done much cable management, but by the same token, they haven't put loads of cables in here, so you're not fighting with a big tangle of cables just by keeping them that little bit shorter. This spoiler on the front, this body spoiler, is a separately fitted part, and that just locates over those two lugs there that you can see. While I hold it this way, we'll just talk about the some of the dimensions. So the tyres on the wheels are actually quite beveled, but the track is coming out at 58mm at the front and 60 to 61mm on the back. The overall wheelbase is 78mm. We'll do the weight and the height when we put the top back on. So if we look at these wheels again, well, I've got it in this angle. So they are really stunning with a separate type of wheel on the front to the back. I'd have to look at the reference picture for the Lancia Delta in this livery to see why they modelled it this way. But what I will say is these the tyres are actually a little bit loose on the rims. So I know some of you club guys, if you were racing this car, you would probably opt to glue these tyres onto the rims. I tend to use my car's default, so I won't be doing that. But you can see that I've had to do quite a lot of sanding on these to get the car to hold the road nicely. And I say I think that's because these wheels feel a little bit loose on the rims. Can you see that one, how it's just squeezing out there? So maybe you might choose to glue the tyres on. So that's the chassis. Let's obviously I've fitted the digital DPR chip there, you can just see, but that's the chassis. Let's move on and have a look at the body. So again, lovely body. As I say, I do like this car, so I am bigging it up. If you see, it's half cockpit. The drivers have got most of their legs, which is unusual. Often they're just truncated at their waists, but in this case they've got most of their legs. Two drivers, one reading a map and one steering. So driver and co-driver, obviously. Can you see the rear roll cage now in this, if I hold the car like that? So that's a nice roll cage in there. Lovely detailing on the back windows there. Can you see how they've cut out vents, which again would be a feature of the real car, just probably to stop it misting up, because there'd be no heater fitted in this car. It would be freezing cold, wouldn't it? The heater would have been removed to save weight. And you can see there what I mean about the aerial. That's just got squashed because I've had the car resting on its roof. And again, these little vents in the windows, which I think is quite important for a rally car. So Scalextric ought to be fitting those into their modern rally cars, and I will have to check on a reference picture to see if it's actually there. There we are. So let's put the car back together again, and then we'll give you the height and weight. So I'll just go and do that now. So there's the car all assembled again. I'll give you the last two dimensions. So the overall weight was 93 grams, which makes it quite a heavy car. And the ride height was 46mm, and that's to the top of that rear spoiler there. So all in all, it's a really beautiful car, isn't it? But we can't tell too much more just by looking at it. So I think what we really need to do is get it out of the scrutineering bay, get it onto the track, and let's get some laps in. So here there's a Lancia Delta on the track, and it's all ready for round 10 of the 2-minute challenge. Let's hand over to your race commentator, Mark Commentary, to describe the action.
Thank you, Mark. Let's immediately go over to the leaderboard, and we can see that the Pagani wire is right at the top there. 5.495 track record, 21 laps completed. But here we go with the Lancia Delta S4. And the lights are on and we're racing, and here we come round for the first lap. So we have two GT cars at the top of the leaderboard. That lap was 6.881, and the second one there was 6.240. So we're outside of the 6-second mark. That's a 6.199, still outside of 6 seconds. And that's 6.026. That's the fastest lap of this attempt. 6.169. And that's a 6.362, so the Delcia's struggling, the Delta's really struggling. 6.132, we can't get below the 6-second mark. That's 6.208. And that's a 6.242, so still under 6 seconds. He's being elusive. Oh, and he caught a crap there. He caught a crap, and that was a slow lap. That was 7.367. 6.346 is recovered, but that was a bad incident there. He nearly came off the track. And that's a 6.195, still with over 6 seconds. 6.264 seconds for lap 13. Lap 14, that's a faster one, that's 6.008, that's his best lap in this session. And that follows it up with a 6.338. And that lap there, lap 16, 6.437. Coming down for lap 17, 6.150, so I don't think this car's going to challenge the wire at all. 6.082, he pulls the fast one out, but it's still outside the 6-second mark. And it finishes with 19 laps, but that last lap was also a 6.238, so really that wasn't that good a performance for the Lancia Delta. Certainly the two cars above it are GT cars, but for the saloon car it couldn't challenge. It came onto the leaderboard there, and it's in 4th place below the BMW 330i M Sport. Straight on to the pacer car pursuit. The Lancia Delta, driven by Mark Rossi, is on the second row of the grid behind Andy Rouse in the Mondeo and Matt Neal in the BMW. So all lights are green and we're racing, and Andy Rouse, has he been taken? Yes, Matt Neal's come through in the BMW and he holds first place. Mark Rossi in the Delta, he's switched track there, but he's right at the back. Oh, Andy Rouse caught something on the line there, and Rossi's gone through, but Andy Rouse is challenging. Andy Rouse is back in second. And Rossi's stuck in 3rd place behind the BMW. He's switched lanes once more, and he's come round on the inside and he's taken the BMW. Matt Neal's fighting back. It's a good battle for 2nd and 3rd. The Ford Mondeo is way out ahead. It's a good battle for 2nd and 3rd. Rossi's holding his position. Matt Neal's stuck behind. Matt Neal's stuck behind in the BMW. There's a Ford Mondeo going round at Halfords. Mondeo still holds first place, and here we are on the last lap. Coming through, and Andy Rouse takes a checkered flag. Mark Rossi comes through in 2nd in the Lancia Delta, and Matt Neal in the BMW is 3rd. And let's see how that race finished then. So Andy Rouse in the Mondeo was 1st, 3 seconds behind Mark Rossi in the Delta, and a further 2.8 seconds to Matt Neal in the BMW.
Well, how do you sum all that up then? So, lovely looking car. I'm really still in love with the looks of this car. But the performance, you know, it wasn't that great. So in the 2-minute challenge, okay, it's come 4th on the leaderboard, and it is actually the 2nd fastest saloon car that I own. But after those really fast times that I got with the Wyra and the Mercedes AMG, it does feel slow to me. It was slow to accelerate as well, so as you pulled the trigger down, it felt slow to respond, particularly from a standing start on the start line. And the other thing that's happened was it's really difficult to control on the track. So although the weight was okay and it's got a magnet fitted, I was having a real difficulty keeping it in the slot, and I've rolled the car several times, and unfortunately I have actually lost the aerial, the roof aerial, which I did predict might happen. So I don't know what that's done to the value of this car, because I can no longer claim it's pristine, can I? So, bit of a mixed bag. Say, still a beautiful looking car. I just wish that it felt faster and held the track better, really, to make me totally happy. But I think it's time to go and give the car some scores, so let's have a look at that. So for detail, I'm giving this car 4.5 stars. It is probably the most detailed car that I own. I really like the exhaust detail on the back, and the livery detail is very fine. And I particularly liked that little opening side light on the side window. I think that was a really nice touch, and one that Scalextric ought to bring back into their range. Moving on to performance, so I'm only giving this car 3.5 stars for performance. Its lap time in a 2-minute challenge was almost a dead 2 seconds, just a few hundredths of a second faster. Its best time was 6.008 seconds. So it's the 4th fastest in a 2-minute challenge, and that's the 2nd fastest of my saloon type cars. But as I said, it was very light and difficult to control. Several times I rolled it over. I've lost the aerial, and say when it was at a standing start, I was finding it really slow to accelerate off the line. If you noticed in the pace of car pursuit, I was finding it difficult to pass cars, so I did get into 2nd place, but I was nearly half a lap behind the Ford Mondeo. So performance not so good, 3.5 stars. Looking at the mechanism, so I'm going to give it 4 stars. It is nice and tidy inside, albeit it has the usual Scalextric nylon bearings and gears. I mean, that will never change unless I go to a different car manufacturer. So with Scalextric, we're stuck with the nylon running gear. The self-centering guide blade was nice. The Sidewinder motor, it was reasonably quiet, but I do feel that the Sidewinders are slower than the inline setups, and in a way, as I say, this car almost felt underpowered because it was so slow to pull away. Quality, okay, I do like the car, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars on the livery alone, really, and the separately fitted parts. And as I said before, I think this was a zenith for Scalextric in real times. They really hit the heights in 2015. In fact, all the Group B cars that they produced have the same level of detail. Over the next few weeks I hope to show you a few more. For value, I'm saying 4 stars. So I bought it in an auction, and I did pay the going rate for it, and looking at auctions for the same car now on eBay, the car's held its value. Many examples are much more expensive, and it is actually one of the more difficult cars to find on eBay, so hopefully it may have that little rarity value. But for the £40 or so that I paid for it, I think it was good value for money, hence 4 stars. And overall, that's a score of 82 points. That's 8 points more than the Mercedes AMG. So officially, this car is the best I own at the moment, although I have only reviewed 3 cars so far. So we'll see how that develops as I do more and more reviews. And so now it's over to you. What did you think of the Lancia Delta? Have you enjoyed looking at it? Is this a car that you'd like to own in your collection? Do let me know, put something in the comments. So that's the end of another SlotTrackRacer. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please click the thumbs up button to show me that you liked it. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel. So that really is the end of the episode. I don't think I've got anything else to say. So if I don't see you through next week, I'll definitely see you around the circuit. So bye for now.